Prayers are more than enough to cure my son, so why are you poisoning him with antibiotics? Yeah. Okay, so... you're a pervert? Ooh.
I'll be home in 10 minutes, Daddy.
The text... I can't even watch YouTube in peace with my grandma above me. Go away! She lives! What's with the comment section? Boo! Did I get you? Did I scare you? Well, good, cause it's spooky month. So hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Laylah. Yeah! So it is officially spooky month as of this upload, and I'm excited. So we're gonna be kicking off our spooky season with something nice and light. Today we're gonna be checking out a subreddit called r/2sentence horror stories, which if you don't know what this is, it's exactly what it sounds like. You create a horror story in just 2 sentences. Now this subreddit really does have a reputation for being kinda corny, unfortunately, so you know, a lot of the stories you read and you're like... But I found an account on Instagram that I'm hoping will provide us with some of the best ones. They will be linked down below if you want to give them a follow. I believe they're just called... Let me look. The account is called 2Sentence and they borrow all these posts from Reddit. So I thought we'd check it out, read some, you know, just start with something light to warm us up into this month. It's raining really hard, so if you can hear it in the background, my apologies, but I unfortunately can't control the weather. So everyone, what I want you to do is to grab your snacks, grab your drinks, get all comfy cozy, and let's just dive right in with our first story. Holding my toddler's hand tight, I walked across the street to the bank. The kidnapper's note said that if I didn't pay up, he'd keep sending me pieces of her. And I love how they have this gigantic ad on the top. I love that for us. May as well throw a gambling ad in there while we're at it. Ugh. Oh, I love the username. And all of these are a surprise to me because I want like that element of as my grandmother's caretaker through her dementia, I've grown accustomed to hearing her call my name for help in the middle of the night. What I can't get accustomed to is hearing her call my name night after night, over a month after her funeral.
Maybe the grandmother's funeral was fake in order to lock her in the basement to route it's there and know it better cause her trouble but the granddaughter doesn't know that the granny is alive and calling for help. Being as early as like talking to my dead grandmother.
Is he having dementia or what? He lives! What's with the comment section? I got a call from my very distressed mom, telling me they had found my dad's dead body at his favorite camping spot, torn apart by some sort of wild animal. When I brought the phone away from my ear, my dad, who had stopped by for an unexpected visit, said with a smile from across the table, "Well, that call seems important." Oh! Forcing her way into the room, the mother was horrified to learn what the priest was actually doing to her son behind the locked door. Stabbing the priest to death, she screamed, "Prayers are more than enough to cure my son, so why are you poisoning him with antibiotics?" You know, there are some people out there like that. Not me, though. Having to help care for my severely disabled stepdaughter at home, I remembered her infatuation and obsession with bubbles. Her little face lit up with joy as I showed her the bubbles I'd made for her traveling along her central IV line. That's not horror, that's just sad. You're a horrible person. In case you don't know, it causes an embolism, but it has to enter your veins in order for you to get that embolism, I believe. So, yeah. I found a blonde hair in our shower, and being a brunette, I didn't hesitate to kick my cheating boyfriend out for good. A decision I came to regret, as when the golden-haired attic squatter showed up in my bed late one night, there was no one to protect me. Maybe they just want to hang out. Give squatters a chance. People are actually asking for an explanation. It literally is said, after a passionate night with his Tinder date, Dan snuck a look in her diary. While she was in the shower to see if he faced any competition. This Dan guy is going to be a real milestone for me. The 100th man I'll have infected with HIV.
Girls on a mission.
There are people out there who do that. There are people There are people that hurt stories. So this is more terrifying when you realize people out there in the world actually do stuff like this. She couldn't believe the generosity of the public when her daughter's GoFundMe page for her cancer treatment reached $100,000. The next morning, she started sprinkling sugar and asbestos on her son's cornflakes.
Huh?
But I'm confused. So is she poisoning both her kids? Or does she just hate her son? I think it would be a little more impactful if it was the daughter. As my 6-year-old son was getting stitches from a fall, he asked the doctor if he could get the special stitch. Asking what he meant, he said, "Daddy told me I was extra special because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have gotten that special stitch, and I want to have one too." So what this, I think, is referring to is what's called the husband stitch, where husbands will request an extra stitch down there for selfish and usually a-hole-ish reasons.
So, did all of y'all forget about C-sections? Or did y'all just casually talk to 6-year-olds about their moms?
They're not talking about C-sections, they're talking about the husband stitch.
And how'd you come to that conclusion?
Because how is a person supposed to get an extra stitch after C-section? They're already stitch closed the belly, so there's no need of an extra stitch. The only time the word extra is used in the either sentence is when he says, "Daddy says I'm extra special." They don't say extra stitch. Clearly, my parents would drop off my animals in the woods far away when they got old or sick with no food or water. Driving to the woods, my old, sick, frail mother asked, "Why we were here?" Anyone who does that to their pets, you don't deserve pets if you're gonna abandon them in their hour of need. Same with people, not to say that's better. I just think that's like such a horrible thing to do to a pet. Especially because you know they're not gonna last long out there because there's all kinds of creatures and things that will eat them up. So you're an a-hole if you do this. Being buried alive was so common in the Victorian era. They tied one end of a string to the corpse and the other to a bell, so the corpse could ring if they woke up. Hence the saying, "Saved by the bell." As I lay in the dark, wasting the last of my oxygen, reciting useless facts, I wish some traditions were as alive as I am. Is that true? Hey Siri! Hello?
Hey there, how can I help?
Where did the saying "saved by the bell" come from?
Here's an answer from grammarmonster.com and dictionary.com.
Okay! Saved by the Bell originates from a boxer who was taking a pounding being saved by the bell at the end of a round, giving him time to recover. But it is a competing theory that's where it originated from. However, this term did not appear in print until the 1920s and also highlight that there are no reported cases of a person being saved by the surface bell. Mama said we were digging for treasure, but all I've found so far is dirt and clay. The soldiers are making the whole village dig the same hole, so whatever it is, must be huge. See, some of these aren't even scary, they're just plain sad, because they're obviously digging graves or trenches or whatever, and then this makes you think of the world wars and all of that, and it's like, this isn't scary, this is sad. I stood outside my bully's house with many get-well-soon balloons in hand after he mentioned his mother's at-home life support during class today. I smiled as I released the mylar balloons into the power lines that fed their home with electricity. It doesn't do anything to the life support. The best the mylar balloons would do is either snap the power line or create a short circuit, and the battery would last long enough until the thing is repaired. Speaking logically, the mother would always have someone beside her if she's on life support. If she's on life support, she ain't alone. If the power went out, you'd be immediately calling the council to get it back on as soon as possible, failing that you'd be taking her to the hospital. If she was alone for some reason, she could make these calls herself. If she isn't well enough to make the calls, then she wouldn't be alone.
Are you in the plausibility of a fictional story?
Logically, if you're on some type of life support, or there's some device that's keeping you alive, essentially, it would not be able to fail by the simplest means, right? So the power going out, or, say you're having really bad weather and a power line goes down. Like, there has to be a solution for a backup, because if that's what kills you, there would be so many lawsuits. I was touched when my ailing grandma said, "I will always watch over you from above," before succumbing to her illness. Now, at night, I sleep sideways just to avert her gaze. Paragraph guy here for the protein shakes who don't get it. At her deathbed, his grandmother said to him as her last words, "I'll always be watching you from above." Probably meaning from heavens or afterlife. But here it seems the grandmother is actually above him, watching him from above. Always. I can't even watch YouTube in peace with my grandma above me. Go away! I found cigarettes in my daughter's room and made her smoke a whole carton, one after another. She was only 3, so her little lungs weren't able for it, and she passed away. But at least her mom won't hide her cigarettes in one of the kids' rooms. Again, why would you punish the child for something the mother did? A 3-year-old? You're gonna punish a 3-year-old for what their mother did? Honey, is our kid finally cured? I anxiously asked my wife as soon as I arrived home. You tell me, she said with a comforting smile while pointing to a prosciutto-like dish on the kitchen table. Wait, that one actually got me. He's cured like cured ham. Like a cured meat. So they're eating their kid. They're not asking if the child was cured from an illness. They're asking if they're ready to eat. That's horrible. Upon spotting a woman leaning dangerously across the railings of a bridge, the man ran and tackled her to the ground. His quick action led the woman to lose her grip on the child she was desperately trying to pull up. See, you know when you laugh out of shock? I don't want people to think that I'm, like, such a jerk that I'm like, The child fell 20 feet into the water, and the mom yelled at the man to save them. The end. As new mom, this is giving me anxiety. Now I am terrified. Why do people get scared by fictional stories? Do you think this is gonna happen to you? When I read stories about grandmas on the ceiling, I don't think, yeah, that's gonna happen to me. Halfway through our road trip, my wife and me picked up a hitchhiker who claimed she'd been walking for days after her car broke down. An hour later, we drove by a broken car, but as we slowed down to examine it, we saw her dead body inside, staring back. Ooh. I'm not gonna read about someone's kink. I give up. What's 8 feet tall with gray skin and no face? I shot at my child indulgently.
I don't know, but he's walking up behind you. Oh, is it Slenderman?
My wife's skin has become very wrinkly and old. It looks especially bad after shower. Looks like I'll have to stop wearing it. Sorry. I wonder how long you reasonably could wear that.
I'll be home in 10 minutes, Daddy.
The text message read, accompanied by a picture of the cutest teenage girl. I didn't like reading that sentence like that. It was unexpected, but stepping over her father's mutilated body, I decided this time I would definitely stick around a little while longer. Yeah. Okay, so you're a pervert? A wealthy man approached me on the street and told me I could use his place to shower and sleep after he saw I was homeless. I arrived at his place, but the plastic wrap covering his furniture and carpets did not feel very homely to me. Here's the thing, I would never, ever accept any man inviting me to his place, even if I was homeless, because you just never know when people are going to take advantage. She demanded to talk to my manager, just like her burger did, implying that the burger she's eating is a person who demanded to talk to the manager. Tearing up, my mother opens her arms for a hug as she whispers, "Sweetie, it's been way too long. Come here." Horrified, I started covering her grave faster. Well, why were you in her grave? And you know what? Maybe you should have visited your mother a little bit more, because it sounds like she's been lonely in the dirt. Why is the grave open? Did she just die? If it's been way too long, like, this doesn't make sense logically. So if we break this down, it's clear that the mom hasn't seen her daughter in a while, and the mom's dead. So why are you opening her grave? Why are you in her grave? Are you stealing her bones? Is it like that video we covered? Go watch it. My late wife loved carnations. In fact, they are the last bouquet I ever gave her before she was killed, I said, a tear running down my cheek. I turned from the mirror as I heard my wife open the door and exclaim, "Ooh, carnations are my favorite. What's the special occasion, honey?" Let me explain it to you. So basically, he's practicing what he's gonna say, maybe to police or to family, when they find that his wife is dead, because he's planning on taking her life. A dying man pushed something into my hands. He told me I must use it. I'm sure one day when it's most important, I'll find a use for this EpiPen. Imagine relying on a stranger to help you and then you're like, what do I do? Basically, if you don't know, let me explain this one to you as well. An EpiPen is when you're having an anaphylactic or even just allergic reaction, which might result in your airways getting cut off or parts of you swelling up that make it difficult to breathe or see or, you know, allergic reactions typically. So when you get an EpiPen, you stab yourself with it. It gives you medicine to kind of reverse that effect. It can save your life. So this guy was handed an EpiPen and they were like, oh, what do I do with it? And didn't save this person's life. My newlywed wife playfully smeared icing across my cheek. So in return, I had smashed her face into the rest of the cake. When she went limp, I pulled her towards my chest, only to see a skewer through her eye. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this has actually happened to people. Not that they have died, but that they have gone blind from having their faces smashed into a cake. I think smashing someone's face into a cake, no matter what the event is really stupid, and then a huge waste of food. So, I hate when people do this, but you can actually go blind if there's like a candle or a skewer or even just like something in the base of the cake that could potentially damage your skull, head, eyeballs, whatever. So if you're one of those people who smashes people's faces into cakes, get off my channel. After my toddler ingested the whole bottle of pills, I called poison control and quickly read off the ingredients listed on the label. Transferring you to the coroner's office, said the voice on the line. You need some training, because that is not something you should say. Also, how would they know which coroner's office to call? Isn't that local? Do not open your lunch until you go to school, my mom warned me, thinking I would just eat it all before I even got to school. She must have put a timer in too. To make sure, because I keep hearing a ticking noise coming from inside. I unzipped the lunchbox just enough to peek inside, and my heart stopped. No sandwiches, no juice, just a maze of wires, a blinking red light, and that relentless ticking. My hands shook. This wasn't lunch. It was a bomb! And then it hit me. This wasn't about me. This was about all of us. Mom had smiled a little too long this morning. Her hug too tight, her voice too calm. Make sure you share with everyone, she whispered. She didn't want a son anymore. She wanted a tragedy no one would question and a spotlight no one could ignore because in the chaos of mourning 20 children, no one would ever think to blame the grieving mother. I would. I wonder if that was written by AI, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure they'd be able to determine the source of the bomb. Plus, you know, they'd probably investigate, like, each parent if they determined that it came from someone's lunchbox, and then they would have found your bomb building supplies. So, Mom, you didn't really think too far ahead, did ya? Am I the a-hole for repeatedly telling my husband I miss him? I, 23 female deceased, have been attempting to contact my husband, 38 male, but every time he hears my voice, he chases me out of the house with a cross. Someone pointed out the 15-year age gap. I didn't even register. While my girlfriend sleeps, I stick nicotine patches on her skin, removing them an hour before she wakes up for max absorption. She's tried breaking up with me 3 times, but when the withdrawal claws at her nerves, she always comes crawling back to me, desperate and trembling for my presence. That always calms her. I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that you would feel better being around someone. You'd still feel the effects of the withdrawal. Anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up and read one less crazy one for the night. I saw on the news how my upstairs neighbor had drowned her young children in the bathtub yesterday after hearing voices telling her to do so. I smiled as I disconnected my computer from her Bluetooth speakers, happy I would no longer have to deal with those brats running around all day and night. Why are they up at night? That was how many stories? I don't even know. We just read so many. So I thought we'd just kick off this spooky season with something light, you know, something kind of, introductory. I don't really love this subreddit simply because you know what it is for a lot of these, and no disrespect to the authors, it often feels very try-hardish, you know? To me, it often just feels like people are trying really hard to come up with something scary, and so it kind of comes off as corny sometimes, or like really overused stuff. I don't know if it's just me, but these subreddits, I'm never like, huh, when I read them. But that was all our stories for tonight. If I'm able to find them, I will link down to them below. That's a lot of stories to include, so I might have to do it in the form of a Google Doc, just because the description doesn't usually fit that many things. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully this was just a nice way to start our spooky season off. And hopefully I will see you all here next time for even more spooky vibes.